Live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to another beautiful morning here in the African bush, and guess what? It rained. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. And welcome on the Sunrise Safari to one and all. My name is Jamie, and this morning I have Brian on camera with me. And Brian, of course, is very much attached to his friend, the Thumb. Brian, it's been a long time since you, me and the Thumb have been out on drive.
Yeah.
Has been. Oh, fantastic. If this is your first time joining us, we're coming to you live from Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains Game Reserve in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And not only are we live, but we're also interactive, which means send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. The thing about a live broadcast is you just never know what to expect. Yesterday on the Sunset Safari, Brent had an extraordinary sighting with 3 wild dogs and 3 leopards, 2 of which are tiny little 8-month-old cubs. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, much like I'm wondering, how they're doing this morning, and that is the plan today. Let's go and investigate and see if they are safe and sound once again. I can also tell you that it wasn't just the wild dogs that came through last night. Fresh hyena tracks walking in this direction, so I'm sure at some point they figured out that Karula was here with her impala kill. And let us go and investigate. Now, from what I heard last night, I mean, I wasn't in the sighting, but it sounded actually quite terrifying at one moment when one of the leopard cubs decided it was a good idea to come down the tree to investigate the wild dogs. Definitely not his smartest move, causing his mom to come down and try and distract the wild dogs and draw their attention away. Phew, I'm glad it all worked out well. Hopefully our royal family are still around and about this morning, but perhaps Karula might have decided that actually it's just worth getting out of Dodge. Well, her kill is still in the tree. You can see it dangling there. Whoop. There it is. So where is Karula? Hanging on. Oof, my goodness. It's in the tree, but not held on by very much. Let's just go slowly here. See if she's around. And as I said, while we look for Queen Karula, it did rain last night, which of course is wonderful, because even though we've had a little bit of rain and things are looking greener, we're not out of the drought woods just yet. So to have a little bit of rain is still a wonderful thing, especially just a few drops, because, okay, it's not as good as a massive downpour, but at least it can slowly soak into the ground and not wash away the topsoil. Aha! I see you. Phew! I was a bit concerned for a second. I thought they'd moved off. But I can see you. Hello, Karula. Here we go. Here's our gorgeous female leopard. Minus 2 cubs, but oh, no, never mind, not minus 2 cubs, minus 1 cub. I'm sorry, little one. You were hidden behind a bush willow. I didn't see you. Luckily, they've come a long way from the timid little furballs that we once saw when they were just 2 months of age, and now they are perfectly relaxed and content in our company. Hello, gorgeous. Where's your sister? Hey, mister? Have you been gorging yourself? So for our new viewers, this little leopard cub is 8.5 months old, and his name is Hosana, which means the little chief, which personally I think is one of the best names that I've heard for a leopard in a long time, because of course one day when he's big and strong, he can be called Hosa, as in big chief, or just chief, which I think is wonderful, because one day he's going to not be a little chief, he's going to be a massive chief. Oh, and something very unsuspecting straight ahead of me. There's a herd of impala feeding not too far away. I wonder if they've realized. Not impossible. Oh, and here comes Karula now. She's on her way to have some breakfast. She's going to walk right past Brian and myself. Or she's going to stop. Yep. Royal toilet break. Somehow Karula always manages to get it right behind a tree. I'm quite impressed. Hey girl, you've been around cameras for a long time, haven't you? I must say, I've been able to see Karula in person for the last 1.5 years. This is the best condition I've ever seen her in. She's looking incredible. Well fed, muscular, stocky. She really is looking good. She's impressive considering she has 2 mouths to feed. Is she going to go and lie down right there? Or is she going to go look at her cub? Duck my head. There we go. This is your early morning wake-up call, mister. Oh, she's going to lie right here. She's seen the impala now. She's just realized they're there. Oh, and they've just realized she's there. Oh, there's cub number 3. Sure, leopards. They're amazingly hidden. There we go. Hello, gorgeous. There's the little girl. Her name is Shongile. Same age as her brother, but much, much smaller, which is natural. Also curiously looking at the sound of the alarm calling impala. Interestingly enough, although they are always smaller than their male siblings, female leopards start to show signs of independence sooner. And the amazing thing about watching Shongile, the last 2 kills that we've been fortunate enough to be witness to when the cubs have arrived at the kill itself, Karula's left them to open it. First the Deka with Brent and then the impala with myself. And Shongile always seems to take responsibility for getting stuck in, which is utterly adorable to watch, because for a leopard cub it's a relatively tricky thing to open up a carcass. The skin is tough, and we've watched her practice her hunting technique on them before. Right. So all the royal family present and accounted for. They've made it through the night, safe and sound. Looking full and content. Now, there's absolutely nothing I can do right now about our position, because the Queen has placed herself on top of our vehicle, as you can see. The corner of my dashboard is now right next to her. Oh, but Shongile is going to make our life easier by coming to perhaps pounce on her brother, perhaps just looking for a little bit of warmth. Sneaking forward. I am the master of subtlety. Ha! Got you. So, quite a lazy, pouncing, stealthy session, but it's still lovely to see the 2 of them play together. Look at the massive paws of the male. Oh, ow! Kicking his sister in the face. He's just basically holding her head down. She might have bitten off more than she can chew. Perhaps it might be a better idea to go and seek some affection from Mum. Oh, gorgeous. Gentle early morning bath. And a quick nibble, make sure that she picks off all the ticks. Come, lift your head, please. Such gentle play between mom and daughter. Considering Karula's jaws are capable of catching an impala of her same weight and then lifting it up into the tree, she's being very gentle with her daughter. Oh, but at some point this is going to be too much, Shongile. There, just like that. The teeth were not at me, they were at little madam. Where have you gone, little madam? Here comes number 1. Number 2 is also going to come soon. Hello, little girl. Okay, have a look at Shongile's size as she comes past to the marula tree. Oh, she's going to stalk the francolin. Nope, she's going to use Mom's toilet spot as well. That's very inconvenient. And here comes number 2. Hey, looking at you, Brian. Hello, gorgeous. Lois, you wanted to know if the leopards will sleep up in trees at night. A very good morning to you. Yes, they can. Generally, sleeping on the ground is actually more comfortable, but obviously it's not as safe. So probably they spent the night in trees last night just because of the wild dogs and the fact that a hyena did come through. Whilst leopards are content to be in the space of hyenas when they're a little bit older, when they're adults, the cubs probably stayed well out of the way and up safely in the boughs of a marula or something similar. But it's unpredictable. They'll happily sleep in the trees and they'll happily sleep on the ground. Brian, you can't see Shongile from your angle, can you? Not so. She had a mouthful of elephant dung, which is absolutely adorable. Yuck. She's spitting it out now, but she's hidden herself perfectly. Why are you lying in the toilet spot, you little monster? That's not very nice. How's that? Peeking out around the corner of the marula tree. And the little prince has mastered his expression of disdain. Or curiosity, I can't quite tell what that face says. Curiosity, I think. He's seriously checking out Brian. Look at that, it's amazing. Oh, shy now. Looking straight into the camera. Ha, fine. Go back to sleep. Right, I'm well and truly boxed in when it comes to leopards. I've got 2 right up against the left-hand side of my car, 1 on the right. I'm not going anywhere. So while we sit here peacefully and enjoy this incredible proximity to the royal family, let's go across to Brent so that he can say good morning to you all.
Welcome to a chilly and slightly rainy Djuma private game reserve on the Sunrise Safari. A wonderful way to start with Queen Karula and her offspring, especially after their learning experience last night. Now we've just got a report that there's lion audio closer to camp, so I'm on the northern boundary and I'm just checking very carefully to see if those cats aren't around here. What was that across the road? I'm not sure. We'll go have a look. As you can see, rain covers on, rain jackets on, and that's quite a dark and ominous sky up ahead. And that's generally, at this time of the year, where we get our weather from. It comes off the Mozambique coast from the east, and it is what one calls monsoon season on the east coast of Africa. Now, the monsoon is not quite like a hurricane, it's just generally a torrential downpour. But we don't normally get that far in, but we do get the tail end of it, and that's what brings quite a lot of the moisture to this area. It's Impala crossing the road ahead of us. Not lions as we had hoped. Now remember, this is 100% live, so if I get wet, you can laugh at me, and we can laugh at Jandre even more, because I think he forgot his rain jacket. No, he has his rain jacket. Darn. No, I'm only joking, of course. And I'm really hoping, we know those lions were in here somewhere yesterday. We just didn't have the chance to find them. And then, of course, the report of wild dogs came, and I forgot all about cats. And so I'm definitely more of a dog person than a cat person. And what an incredible experience we had with those dogs chasing Karula and the cubs. Now, you might start noticing a few spots on the screen. It does feel like it's about to come down a bit more. So we do apologize if you see Jandre's fat fingers jumping in front of the lens. He's just trying to wipe it to give you the best view possible. What? Jandre says he's been dieting. His fingers aren't fat. Hi, Robin. Robin says she's always been under the impression that wild dogs don't scavenge, but it certainly looked like they were trying yesterday. That is quite an old tale that wild dogs don't scavenge. I've seen wild dogs scavenge on numerous occasions. They won't scavenge really rotten meat. I've seen them ignore very, very rotten meat, but I have seen them eat rotten meat, and I've seen them actually steal. There we go. I saw the impala looking. There's a male lion. Hello, big boy. Now where's the rest of the pride? I saw the impala staring, and there he is. The rest of the pride are snorting. I mean, the rest of the pride, the rest of the impala are snorting. I'm just trying to see which way they're looking. Hello, big boy. Come on, give us a roar. Let's get a bit closer. This looks, yes, it is. It's split in the lip. I think he's one of my favourites out of the Birmingham boys. Decided it's time to be on the move. And that's great. One Wanunangala, and just to the west of the junction Tambuti Waffleshoek cut line. He's scent marking behind the marula tree. Oh, he's going to flop down again. Oh, tired kitty. I wonder where the rest of the Nkuhumas are. We have been seeing him with the pride. We saw him mating with the youngest lioness not that long ago. Oh, there's a lioness. Ah. That looks like the youngest female. So this is the mating pair. They could, the rest of the pride should be around, not too far. Hopefully they decide to treat us to a cacophony of lion roars. Station's just its mating pair. Now the impala's snorting at the lions. Oh, what's that up there? Is that another lion? No, it is not. Oh, you can almost see, look at that, you can see the moisture on him from the drizzle last night and the sort of almost misty drizzle this morning. Just have a look behind us, Jandre. As the lions are looking that way. Well, she was looking that way. I was wondering if possibly Sorry guys, there's going to be a bit of a noise. So I'm just going to do the top of my jacket. There we go. Wonderful dawn chorus this morning as well. The birds actually really like this weather. This is very good birding weather. Very bad birding with the camera weather because of the light. Looking nice and well fed. I wonder if they caught something last night or the night before. So of course we didn't find the lions yesterday. These two haven't been too far from the rest of the pride, so I'm just using my binoculars to scan the opposite hill, see if there's anything there. So far there isn't. Okay, well we're going to sit here, see what happens with these lions, but while we do that, it sounds like Shungile and Hosana are in a playful mood.
Oh, Shungile and Hosana, but amazingly it's Karula that's initiating all of these games. She's like a young leopard cub herself, playing with them, chasing them around, pouncing, sneaking up on them, and doing it with far more skill than they could ever manage to do. Hosana wants to stalk the Franklin, and Karula wants to stalk Hosana. And they've been gambling backwards and forwards. It's beautiful to watch. And the games between the two of them. Is she going to go and do it again? No, she's going to have a jolly good head rub on the bush willow tree. Go on, girl. Get him! Get him! Look, his back's turned and everything. Totally unsuspecting. He wants a Franklin, though. As an appetizer. There she goes. She's creeping up. She's going to get him. Got you. Hosana's paws up in a surrender. Amazing how she went still there for a second just to listen, and he immediately knew to stop playing and stop hitting her while she listened. And then as soon as she went back, he's playing with her again. Now she's looking at the Franklin, but I doubt it's really something that she's going to waste energy on. Right, cub number 2, I think. It's Shungile's turn. Shungile knows it and is now running from her mother. That's interesting. She saw immediately Mom was after her. Very interesting. Ah, and now they're behind a tree. Hosana is confused. He's not sure if he should be running away as well or not. He can't quite work out if that was all a game or if perhaps there's a threat he should know about. So he's stuck in limbo, looking backwards over his shoulder, as if to say, what? What's going on? What's going on? Should I run? Should I join in? Should I go have breakfast? Ah, yes. Brian's just pointed out what's on its way towards us, and it's now started drizzling seriously. Brian needs to put the rain cover on the camera relatively quickly, relatively soon. Okay. Alright, we'll watch the leopards for a little bit longer whilst Brent and Andre get theirs on, since they're about to pounce on each other once again. Who's going to get who here? This is beautiful. This is the most playful I've ever seen these three. It's wonderful. Okay, we're not going to be away for too long, but we do have to put this rain cover on. We're going to send you across to Brent and we'll be back with you shortly.
Well, it has started to get really wet. So Jandre is trying to put a rain jacket on. The lion is looking at him like he wants to eat him. Of course, he doesn't really want to eat Jandre. He's just looking at the movement of Jandre putting that rain cover on. And it has started to come down. So we might have to make a dash for camp. But that's why we have the tent these days. And I'm going to hopefully final control. Oh, Geraldine will start getting the tent ready. Now you can hear we're all in sorts of weird positions because we're all trying to make sure we don't get too wet. There we go. Oh, my binoculars. Okay. So we've had such an exciting week. There's lots to talk about in the tent. You can actually probably see how hard it's coming down now. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm not fast enough in putting my pants on. I'm getting water down my back. No, it's very cold. I don't like being cold. Get my rain pant on. I should have started with my rain pant. I was being optimistic. Yes, and of course, if you're my height, doing anything in a Land Rover cab is quite a challenge. Now, of course, he doesn't look too perturbed with the rain. My mic pack is going to be under the rain protection once I have managed to find a way to put my pants on. Okay, we need to put a skirt on, so Jandre is just going to lock off the camera while he does that. And you can look at a male lion starting to look miserable in the wet. Oh yay, rain pants. Okay, there we go. That should stop me getting too wet. Well, you know, this is what happens when one is live in the middle of the African bush. You can't control the weather. Oh, when Jandre has got his skirt on, we might get the female's up and moving, so it means the male might move towards him. So Jandre is nearly ready. Hello, pretty lady. I always find it so funny how wet lions look in the rain. Oh, the male's moving as well. I'm just going to turn the vehicle around. We will try to stay as long as possible. As I said, if it carries on like this much, we will be in the tent. Now, this type of weather is quite good for the bush. So we've had that initial green flash after the 30 mils of rain. Oh dear, it's all going onto my bottom. The wet, 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 wet. Even rain pants don't seem to help. Oh, looks like we've got some flirting. Okay, I think they're about to mate, and if they give us one bit of feline action this morning, then I think we're going to have to love them and leave them and make our way to the tent. So let's just... Oh. Okay, there they go. She's going to lie down here, it looks like. I hear contact calls, it means... Oh no, he's seen an impala. Is he going to stalk an impala all on his own? You're a bit big for that, but she'll spot you. I reckon, count to 5 before the first snort. Okay, but I think the impala already spotted him, so let's go back to Jamie and the playful leopard cubs.
This is too gorgeous for words. The three of them are having such a game. I will reposition depending on where they settle, but they're all over the place at the moment, so it's actually quite nice to have a long distance view, and I don't want to disturb their games. Karula's now lying down. I was just thinking, I wonder if she actually prefers playing with them at this age, because they're not quite so fragile and tiny, and she can actually properly play with them. I mean, at one point, Hosanna and Karula collided in mid-air, all 8 feet off the ground as they met each other. It's amazing to watch. Little Shongile's not so sold on the whole idea, as she's so much smaller than her brother and then Karula, that I don't think the games have quite the same appeal, because she just ends up getting thoroughly pinned down. It isn't a lack of character, it's just very sensible. Makes total sense. And Karula, you're having a gorgeous game. Oh, look at little Hosanna licking the moisture off the leaves. Who needs to go drink at a muddy water hole when you've got fresh water on the... Oh, but beware, Mom. Don't allow a moment's lapse in attention, as I just did. And Karula will take you by surprise. I'm going to go again. He's going to get her now. Oh, no. She's going to go and find her daughter. Shongile shyly peeking out. Not one to leave one out, making sure that the attention is equally divided between her two little ones. Oh, Hosanna's coming in to join the games. There's Mom and his sister. Oh, gone for the sister this time. A neat slide in underneath Karula's belly. These are very special dynamics, very special moments. Doesn't Karula look young at the moment? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just my imagination, I think. I think it's the way she's playing with them. Oh, that was pretty smooth. This is stunning. Okay, if they keep heading in that direction, then I will reposition. But they're so all over the place. Oh, your sister did that better than you did. Too precious. Okay. I think let's go forward. Oh. I think the windscreen wipers are on. Not that we obviously have a windscreen or windscreen wipers, but the motor's still going brrr, brrr, which is pretty fitting considering the current weather conditions. Oh my goodness, they've now gone. Debbie, sorry, I'm just concentrating on where to put us. Let's just wait here for 1 second, because I think they might come back in this direction. Soon it's going to be breakfast time and they will be heading back here. Now, Debbie, you wanted to know if the cubs have ever gotten so curious as to get into the vehicle, or to jump into the vehicle. There's Karula with Shongile. You know, funnily enough, a little bit earlier on, we were watching Karula and Hosana. That was not at me. That was at her little girl, who I think was biting her. I looked across, and Shongile was about a meter away from my wheel, flat. Completely flat, like leopard in stalk mode. Like she'd crept all the way up to us. But no, they never break that boundary of going into the car itself, and we don't want them to. That would definitely be a no-no. We'd actually have to act quite quickly if a leopard were ever to come and jump into the vehicle or onto the vehicle. Unfortunately, it's just too dangerous for them, and it's too dangerous for us. That's behavior that they learn when they're cubs. There's a chance that they won't grow out of it as adults, and we really don't want that. Shongile or Hosana is one thing, Karula is a very different story, and the Anderson male, well, that sounds terrifying. We found a stick, little girl. All three of them moving quite far away from the kill. I think they're in high spirits. It's the rain, nice and cool. It's fun to play in. This is perfect big cat weather. Alright, let's reposition again, I guess. Try and find a neat way around here. I don't think they're going to go too far. There's still plenty of meat left on that impala. They're not. So while we reposition, let's go back across, talking of good mornings for big cats, to the lions.
So the male walked in. All the impala started snorting at the male, but they didn't see the female. And it looks like she is attempting a stalk. Now this wet weather will hide some of the sounds of her approach. It'll also dull the smell. We're just going to wait here, see what happens. If she is spotted, we will be making a dash for the tent. So where we're sitting as well is a lot more exposed than where Jamie is, so we're getting a little bit more wet. Now, from what I can see, none of the impala are looking her way. I'm not sure where the male trundled off to. So you can see all the impala behind us, off to the right of us in the thickets. Now, having seen that male lion might have put them in a little bit of a slightly more relaxed mood. There we go, she's moved forward a few steps. I do apologise for my audio. I am in a rain jacket. Try open up the front again. Is that a bit better? I'll get into trouble if I get my mic wet, won't I, Jandre? Mic pack. Oh, so I can get the mic wet. Yes, the mic pack is in the rain pant. So there's quite a lot of impala. There's a big group of them moving around. And there we go, she's stalking towards us. I see no impala have noticed her yet. Isn't this? It's actually quite spectacular looking at lions in a bit of rain. Not something we get to see every day. My concentration. Here comes the rain a bit harder. This could cause her to move. It'll definitely dull the impala's senses a little bit. She might take advantage of it. I can almost feel Jean-Ray cringing at the equipment. This has now gone from drizzle to, what would you call this, Jean-Ray?
A station pulling out of a fuzzy inward to one lock, leaving it open lock. So just a little bit to the south of the Malabamba.
At Aubrey. Station on Buffalo cut line coming. Oh no. Keep coming, Orbs, you'll get my visual. As soon as you get here, I'm going to have to leave. So Jean-Ray says we can't drive with everything powered up while it's like this. So we can stay stationary and form some puddles on our bottoms. Oh, here it comes. Okay. Oh, we can. Jean-Ray, you happy to stay on while we're not moving? Okay. She's stalking those impala about 60 meters. There she goes. You have been spotted. Okay, she's been spotted by the impala. Guys, we're going to have to power down and make our way to the tent. So while we do that, let's go see how Jamie's doing in the wet weather.
Now there's a very good chance we're going to have to power down as well. It's pouring. So basically what we've learned from this is if Jamie makes a weather prediction, the complete opposite is going to happen. So when Jamie says, oh, we're going to put on the rain covers and it's going to stop raining, do the opposite, because I'm guaranteed to be wrong. Okay, so it is pouring. Unfortunately, we've had to leave the Leopards. We're racing back across. As you know, we no longer shut down the show completely. We're going to go and do a tent segment for a little bit, hope that the rain decides to stop. Well, not hope that the rain decides to stop, of course, because we need the rain. So it's kind of it's a toss-up in our minds. We don't want to shut down the sunrise safari, so we'll keep the tent going, but oh, it's quite nippy now. Sure. It's we're a little bit damp. Little bit, just a little bit. Brian's gonna have to do some windscreen wiping work. The intrepid team of Safari Live. Any weather, wind or shine, or as long as it's gentle rain. How are you feeling, Brian? You want to power down? Okay. All right. We're gonna briefly go to Tech Loop so that we can get to the tent and that we can power down this equipment. It's now dripping everywhere. We're gonna do that temporarily. We'll be back with you shortly. Please don't go anywhere. In the tent, it took us a little bit of a sort of an extended time period to get things going, due largely to the fact that poor Miss Geraldine Kent rushed to get the tent prepared, only to find herself trapped due to a herd of elephants that had gathered outside the entrance to the tent whilst we watched and waved at her from a safe distance. Right. The gear is very, very wet. It's actually sort of stopped raining now, but we are back in control once again. We don't want to take the vehicles out again because that rain took us by surprise. Took me by surprise.
No, I think I saw it coming.
You think you saw? You did say it was coming.
I had my rain kit. I should have put my rain pants on. I left it a bit late and I got a little bit wet, but not too bad. And we did get to see lion and leopard. in the rain.
We did have a marvellous start to the morning. The nice thing about the rain covers is that they redirect the water flow perfectly. They're beautifully designed, so it takes it away from all of the gear and down the presenter's lower back. So that you sit in a little well.
It's designed to make presenters wet. And every time it rains, you can see an evil smile start on the cameraman's face. They're like, I'm under my skirt. I'm protected. But, yes.
So you had a wonderful morning. You had lions.
Yep.
And we had Karula playing like a cub. It was amazing.
Very nice.
It was so much fun. We've actually had a really, truly marvellous week.
I mean, it's only Friday today. And I can't even remember what happened on Monday. Can you remember what happened on Monday?
No, I've gone blank.
Well, guys, let us know if you remember what happened on Monday. Let us know what sightings we've had through the week from Monday to Friday. # Safari Live on Twitter or questions at WildEarthTV via email. We'd love to hear. Unfortunately, sometimes out here it does sort of all blend into one when you're out every day.
That it does. But for those of you, perhaps you were late risers this morning, or for those of you, maybe you were late risers in the night, depending on your time zones, I'm sure you'd love to have another look at Karula and her cubs playing together. Let's have a look at the clip that Final Control has prepared. Brent can watch it for the first time and we can chat about it while it's playing. See, look at this. So they started off right next to us. Karula came and lay down right next to us. And it actually took Brian and myself a while to see the cubs initially. It starts off relatively gently. I say relatively. That was gentle in comparison with what was to come. Shungile kicking Mom in the face. Look at her playing. And Karula was having an absolute ball. Here we go. And bounce.
Swat. She is a very playful mother. And we've seen it a couple of times. I mean, was it last week, I think? Yeah. We saw her running around, jumping up trees with the cubs. It was incredible. She's very, very playful. I wonder if it's to do with the fact that she's a bit relieved that both of them are actually alive.
She's done a marvellous job. And watching her play with them, it was like it took 6 years off her life, just the way that she was playing with them. She looked like a young leopard again. What was fun about that particular incident and this morning, she was playing mainly with Hosanna. He was the one, it was the boisterous batting each other. And I mean, at one point, both of them leapt. I think we were busy putting on our rain covers and I was just sitting watching. But both of them leapt up and collided in midair. I mean, all 8 paws off the ground and then tumbling to the ground. Then she decides, no, okay, it's time for Shungile to have a little bit of a play fight, a little bit of a lesson in her fighting skills. Shungile ran initially. She was sprinting away from Mom. She saw her coming from a long way off and just went, nah, I'm not having any of this. She did eventually join in the game, but it was almost reluctant. I suppose she's very outweighted, if you can put it that way.
Yeah, also I think I've noticed that she's becoming far more independent, and you'll notice that independence with female leopard cubs starting much earlier than the male cub. So often you'll find Hosanna lying close to Karula. Shungile often goes on her own little mission. She'll lie 50, 100 meters away from the rest of them. And that's normal for a female leopard. So normally she's going to become independent quite a lot earlier than the male cub. And it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic and how it changes, especially now how the 8 months, between now and about 16 to 18 months, how that dynamic is going to shift completely. What I'm most fascinated about is where is Shungile going to set up territory. So we actually are a little bit lucky here in Djuma. We do have a little bit of a leopard vacuum at the moment in terms of female leopards. We've only really got Karula. Occasionally now, not Tsakani, Nchila has been seen around the gate, but really in a tiny little thing. And then the Shaluvas, both Shaluvas, have been seen around the boundary with Buffalo's Hook. So Karula is not utilizing the majority of Djuma, so we can only hope that Shungile takes over. If we look to the west and to the south, there isn't that much space for female leopards, and there's obviously Kwatila has expired, and there's a bit of movement through her old territory at the moment. There's Karula's been there, Shadow's been there, Salahesh has been there, Tsakani's been there, and Moyo has been there. So the western section, there's very little territory left for a female leopard. So let's hope that Shungile becomes our dominant leopard in the next year or so around the northern and eastern sections of Djuma.
I think that would be absolutely lovely. And speaking of independence, Doodles is concerned about Karula's well-being after the cubs go independent. Just saying that seeing Karula play with those little cubs, she was just wondering if perhaps Karula gets a little bit lonely when the cubs have moved off and become independent. I don't think she gets too lonely. I think that she probably finds it a bit of a relief. And that being said, of course, once independence happens, the cubs are still around for a long time afterwards. And by the time they start to move off, she's then mating again and making room for the next litter of cubs. So I think her attentions are kept well occupied. And it's probably a relief not to have to kill an adult impala every 2 days that she then has to share with them. Because, I mean, in the space of 3 days, she killed 1 daker and 2 adult impala, which is very impressive, but she's got 2 teenagers to feed. And one little boy in particular that seems to be very keen on his food. He enjoys it. He attacks it with great relish. Which actually is what the interesting thing we were commenting on this morning. Shungile, speaking of what Brent was saying about independence, when the kill arrives, Shungile seems to be the one that immediately takes responsibility for. Mom leaves it. It's their turn to learn. And Shungile is the one that's on it straight away, and jumping on it and playing with it and just generally learning the technique that she needs to learn to hunt. All in all, I think that's the joy of Safari Live, watching them grow up and pass these little milestones, if you could call it that. This morning was particularly special. I think it's nice and rainy, nice and cool. They've survived the night while being chased up trees by wild dogs.
Yes, that fat belly of Hassan has nearly cost him yesterday. I still have no idea why he came down the tree in the first place. That wild dog was not too far behind his bottom as he scrambled up the tree. Shungile was already gone. She'd already put 50 meters between herself and the wild dogs before she went up the tree. And of course, of all the trees to choose. And then he tried to come down again. He chose a very thick, very thorny knobthorn. So I'm sure he's got lots of spikes in his bottom today.
Oh, poor thing. I actually haven't seen this clip at all. I didn't see much of the highlights yesterday. So I think I'm quite keen to watch it. I know that the ladies in Final Control have prepared that particular clip. So for those of you who missed the sunset safari yesterday, let's have a look at what happened with the royal family and the wild dogs. Look at them bouncing.
They were trying to grab the kill, but we'll chat about that a little bit later. And there we go. So that actually happened after they're chasing the cubs. Karula came down to try to defend the cubs, and then they chased her back. So it all happened so fast, all around us. But now, we did get asked a question this morning, but then the rain might have cut it off, about wild dogs and scavenging. Apparently they don't scavenge. Well, there's a perfect example of them scavenging. They did eat what they could of the stomach, and then they just tried to leap to grab that impala from the tree. Now, I've seen wild dogs scavenge on a few occasions. I've seen them pass up on very rotten meat, something a lion or a leopard or hyena might take, but I mean even 2 or 3 day old meat. And I think the most fascinating scavenging event I've ever seen with wild dogs is that they scavenged a baby elephant from hyenas in Botswana, which was very, very interesting. But a lesson learnt for those cubs today, or yesterday, don't come down the tree when there are wild dogs around.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just chatting a bit, and we'll go back into the dynamics of because we've had 3 leopard wild dog sightings in the last month, maybe 6 weeks. I don't know. Time is blending into one. I've been here a while. But just before we go into that, Eli, you wanted to know if there's a hierarchical structure to a wild dog pack. Over to you. Let's chat about wild dogs and hierarchy.
Yes,
since they are your favorite animal.
Yes, there's a very, very set hierarchy in wild dogs, with the alpha pair being most dominant, and below that there's beta and gamma females and males, but it's a very set alpha pair, and the alpha pair do all the breeding. Although in certain circumstances, and it's been observed, I wouldn't say it's rare, it's probably uncommon is a better word, that a beta female will also mate with the alpha male and produce pups. Now, what is rare is for the alpha female to allow those pups to live. Normally she'll kill them. But there's been 2 cases in the Sabi Sands where that has happened, and it's happened this year again with the Sabi Sands pack. Beta female has bred, and the alpha has not killed the pups. So very interesting, and that is rare for a beta female to breed, not so much, but the alphas normally kill. Now, the amazing thing about wild dog social structure, it is so intertwined. It is probably one of the closest knit social structures we have out here in the bush. And it is very interesting because, like human beings, wild dogs are probably one of the only animals out here who put survival of the pups or the babies on a higher term than themselves. So in human beings, we take very good care of our babies and we try to protect them from everything. And theoretically, if you look at it from an animal-based point of view, that means the babies are higher on the social ranking than the adults. And it's the same with the wild dogs. And the whole pack's whole existence is to make sure that those puppies survive. Now, once the pack starts getting big or there's a little disagreement in the pack, generally one or two of the same sex will disembark from the pack and look for another one or two of same sex. So you have male and female dispersals in wild dogs, which is quite unusual. Normally it'll be only one.
So we've got a complex combination of behaviours happening there. Before we go back to the conversation that Canada Keith and I are on the same page about, but before we go back there, speaking of wild dogs and mating and producing pups, yesterday they were the male was mounting, it was male mounting female.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're outside of typical breeding season. However, that particular pack has been establishing itself, dispersing into an area. Do you think that it's just an establishment of bonds between them? Or?
No, I'm not sure. I thought it was a Lower Sabi pack yesterday, but I'm not sure anymore.
Okay.
I saw one dog that had two very distinct white spots, one on the shoulder, one on the back, and I don't remember seeing that before. So we'll send that footage off to the wild dog expert, my friend Grant, who works for the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and he's in charge of wild dogs for the Lowveld, and hopefully he can give me some idea whether it is a possible inbreeding, or there is actually another male that's managed to sneak into that pack, or it could be a completely new pack. Now, normally, as you said, they mate from, or they den from sort of May and into June, July, and by July, the puppies are up and running. Now, that isn't the same every year, it always depends, but in newly formed packs and dispersal packs, it's not uncommon to have a very late mating and denning. I mean, I've seen wild dogs den in January, so it isn't impossible, but it's going to be interesting to find out where exactly those dogs are. I don't remember those two white spots, maybe some of you do, but they were very distinct to me last night.
How wonderful would that be if they decided to den on Djuma or some of our Traverse area? It would be truly special.
Unfortunately, I think the incredible Nkuhumas will convince them that this is a bad place to den.
But you never know. Might decide to.
Well, hopefully.
We can but hope.
Yes.
And of course we'd get that incredible parental care that Brent was talking about, and not just the parents but the entire pack. Which brings us back to Canada Keith's point, which I was thinking about as well, watching that footage with Karula and from what Brent was describing, the incredible ability of female leopards, all mothers, out here. But with what we've seen recently, female leopards defending their young through distraction. We saw it with Tundi not too long ago with the baboons, where if you watch that footage in slow motion and zoomed in, which we did repeatedly, that evening, you can actually see the male baboon reaching through branches to try and grab that cub, and Tundi went for another baboon to distract him, to draw his attention away, and then she ran slowly.
Not even half.
That was for a leopard, that was nothing. It was a mild jog. Yeah. It was the sort of jog you do around the neighborhood when you're feeling like you should, but you're not really all that interested in it. That's what she did. She drew that baboon away. It's exactly what Karula did as well. Go down. She knows she's fast. She knows she's faster than any of the other wild dogs, and back up the tree again.
And also, if they caught her, a small pack like that, she's got a chance to defend.
Yeah.
She's got the weaponry. Now, I mean, speaking of that, leopards and defense, I mean, I've seen some incredible clips over the last while from the southern Sabi Sands of a male leopard, tangling with a male lion. So, I mean, they do have that ability to escape. And I think those adults, even if Tundi got into a fight with a baboon, which is really dangerous, or Karula with the wild dogs, they have they do have a good chance of survival, because nothing really wants to fight too much.
Well, that's what Oakley was asking. He wanted sort of you to speculate as to what would happen if Karula had come down the tree, because of course a wild dog's strength is in the pack. A wild dog is much smaller than Karula, not nearly as strong and not nearly as agile in terms of just sheer reflexes. So there you go, Oakley. That's sort of the answer to your question. We've talked about it a lot because we had that near miss with Tingana and that female lion. And I think she would have found herself having bitten off far more than she could chew, or at least found herself with a very nasty surprise. No, just the speed that he would have turned around and reacted with, and the ferocity that he would have shown. I think if she had managed to catch him, she would not have walked away unscathed.
Yeah, and I mean, Tingana's a big leopard.
Yeah.
He's about, I'd guess, 80 kilos. Not nearly as big as Mr. Anderson, but but I still think, and if you look at a lioness,
Sorry.
there's water falling off the tent in all places. If you look at an adult lioness in this area, probably she's 120 to 130 kilos. Some of the bigger lionesses, maybe from the Tsalala Pride or in the Nkuhuma Pride. So I mean, that's 50 kilograms. 50 kilograms is 110 pounds. So I mean, it's a serious weight advantage. But and as you're saying, with the wild dogs in the pack in Botswana, I've actually seen a pack. It was a much bigger pack. It was 23 or 24 wild dogs literally rip a female leopard to part. She could not get to the tree in time. They caught her in some open ground in a floodplain, and her speed didn't count because there was quite a long distance. And of course, the wild dog speed, they can keep it up for a long time. So in that circumstance, she was completely outnumbered.
Poor thing.
Yep.
And speaking about sizes and relative sizes, you've just touched upon it. The Mr. Anderson appearance of the week. The first time I've ever seen him, and my goodness, he looks like a bodybuilder to me. Well, no, I think you said it perfectly. You said he was a gangster or mob boss. He's a thug.
Yeah, he looks like
he's
a thug.
Obviously not a thug. He's just a male leopard, but he looks like one. He's got strange eyes, a strange face, and very, very powerful shoulders and neck. Now, Jason would like to know, do we think that his appearance was just a matter of chance, or perhaps he has a cunning plan? Perhaps muscling in on Tingana's territory. That's their boundary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's actually inside Anderson. Tingana is sort of the airstrip, and we were west of the airstrip. It was within his territory. If anything, I think over the next while we're probably going to see less of him. Even the guys on Arathusa and that are going to see less of him. His territory is going to focus around the Manyeleti River, and he's extending down onto the Sand River. So I think he's going to move down to that sort of prime territory. And Mr. Nkuhuma better watch out, because that's where Nkuhuma's been hanging out, down on the Sand River around the Manyeleti confluence. And I think just traditionally what happens with big male leopards in this area, from my time here before, there was a male called Tyson, who almost had a mane. He was a very strange looking male leopard. Some of you might remember him. Now he came from the north and then slowly moved his way down the Manyeleti onto the Sand River. And the biggest male leopards in the area tend to gravitate towards the Sand River, and it's the best leopard habitat. The most animals, most females in the smaller space.
Well, speaking of leopards and territories and space and all sorts of things, thank you to Georgianne, who's done a fantastic job of refreshing our memory. We were with Quarantine on Monday.
Thank you.
We were with Quarantine on the kudu kill on Cheetah Plains. Now, Quarantine, of course, is a completely different kettle of fish, because he's at that in-between stage.
But he's acting like he's
I
not.
know, he's interesting. Quarantine's an interesting character, as has Nkuhuma been, from what I understand. Yeah. But Quarantine is competing with his brother, growling at his brother, who is the dominant male leopard in that area, Shambambalana. He is massive. I mean, to me, for a 4-year-old. Yeah, for a 4-year-old. And his feet, it seemed to indicate he's still got plenty of growing to do.
But he's behaving like a 6-year-old male at the moment. And difficult to say, but at the moment it looks like, when he's not backing off from Shivambalan, and Shivambalan has been seen less and less, and further to the east. And it'll be interesting to see if he actually had to come in contact with someone like Tingana or whatnot. Although Tingana seems to not go that far to the east anymore. He sort of stops around Chitwa, centre of Torchwood. And Quarantine's been sent all the way through Torchwood into Buffelshoek, down the Kruger boundary. So he's moving around a lot. But he does seem to come back to that Cheetah Plains area and seems to be very fond of it. So it's going to be interesting to see. And again, probably quite sad. We'll probably enjoy him for a while, but if he does become a monster, he's probably going to migrate south from there into Mala Mala and down to the Sand River.
Shame. Be sad too, he's a beautiful leopard. I've got one of my favourite questions ever from Chai Connie, and it's just because it brought to mind, speaking of leopard territories, it's brought to mind that scene in The Lion King with the everything the light touches is your kingdom kind of deal. Chai Connie would like to know, how do female leopards pass on their territory to their daughters? How do they show them where their territory is? Do they take them on a tour? And it's not quite how it works. It's actually almost an antagonistic thing. It's not a positive thing between a mother and daughter bonding session where she takes them around and says, you know, this is yours and this is mine, and this is the cub actually establishes herself, often with a little bit of growling and snarling at mom, which is what's happening with Saleshe and Tiani. Apparently we've been chatting to friends of ours who see them more regularly, and this amazing little leopard Tiani, who is nearly the size of her mom at this point. She is close to a year and a half. She must be a year and a half now.
No, I don't even think she's that old. Like
younger.
A year and 3 months.
Okay, so she's, wow, that's impressive then. She will wait, mom will scent mark on her territory, so she'll spray urine and then she'll scrape her paws. Tiani marches up and sprays right on top of it and scrapes and then snarls at her mother, according to some of the guides in the West. So that's how it happens. It's slowly, bit by bit, they will shift and settle in and growl at each other. We've seen Karula and Shadow lying, well, you have, growling at each other, lying next to each other. Karula blowing the most dignified spit bubble in the world. Thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It has been interesting. Now, October for me is always the best month for game viewing in southern Africa. Obviously, it varies where else in Africa, but from Zambia down, you can't beat October. So it's sometimes we get a little bit of rain, a little bit of early rain, but it's generally the bush is very open. The animals are at the end of a dry season, so the buffalo are skinny, the impala are not so fast. So your predator viewing at this time of the year is just magnificent. And it's been, I mean, literally the last, 2 weeks into October, and we've had some of the most incredible sightings of the big cats and wild dogs. And the only thing missing at the moment is the hyenas, but they're in the Manuleti.
Yes, we'll try not to take that personally. I'm still devastated every time I drive past a lonely and empty-looking hyena den. Now, speaking of the drought, of course, we're sitting here because it is raining. Miss Jerry is cuddled under an umbrella.
I think we should have a look at Jerry. There we go. Let's have a look at Jerry.
She says no, please
Let's go have a look at Jerry. Here we go. Look at Jerry. Jerry, you can stand under the roof. It's okay. We won't bite. There's Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Let's lift the umbrella. Say, hi, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
So I did my best because James isn't here and I'm not that comfortable in the tent. So what I did is I took a pen and I held it like this, so I can't really draw well, to emulate James's drawing. And there we go. So that's wait, let me actually, because I know James, he'll put genre, the hair, like that, and he'll probably do something ridiculous to me. What would James do to me?
He just made you a lot taller, I think.
Okay, so there we go, just do that. So there we go, that is genre and myself and the lion.
I know what James would have done.
Oh, there we go. Jamie knows what James would have done.
He would have made a speech bubble.
Ah, yes.
And put writing in it.
Yes,
that's what James would have done.
That's exactly what James would have done. So we tried to channel James, we miss you. He'll be coming back on Sunday. So, but I mean,
Jerry's running away. All right, Jerry.
James's drawing skills are so bad. We actually have to pretend not to be able to draw like James. But it is good comedy. Jamie has now found something on the microscope.
I'm actually just fiddling.
I don't know how to use this thing yet. This is my first time extended period in the tent.
Kirsty would like us to have a look at the dam camera before we go into the microscope and whatever else, so that I can play with the microscope. This is great fun. Let's go see what's exciting. Well, it's raining.
Well, yes, there's water drops on.
There's water drops. You go, Zoomy. You pan.
Is it final control
awesome,
or
thank you.
Zooming?
Thank you, Zoomy Tammy.
Zoomy
what have you seen, Zoomy Tammy? Let me duck out of Brent's way, although I can see over my head. Yes, it's a bit rainy.
Misty?
Misty. Beautiful, actually. Very nice from the... Apparently there were Egyptian geese there a second ago.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, we know the feeling, Zoomy Tammy,
yes.
Whenever we try and put a bird on camera, as it disappears off in flight as we link across to it.
Okay, we're changing cameraman at the moment as well, just so you know.
Aha! Oh yes, so we are.
Brian
Genre is swapping in for Brian.
Yes, genre is coming. Now, Zumi, tell me, why aren't there any lions there? I want lions, Zumi, tell me, and since you are the Zumi, it is your job to provide lions for us.
while we watch. Oh, look,
There's the
goose.
geese.
There's the goose. Could they be courting each other? Of course, Jason would like to know, would the rain have any effect on breeding behavior of the animals? And yes, it will. Not so much with the big cats and the mammal species, but certainly the birds have been very busy. We've had crested barbets, and we've had magpie shrikes mating, and lots of nest building happening. But you know who I saw, Jason, is a tortoise, a Speaks-hinged tortoise that I have nicknamed the Conqueror of Quarantine. And I know that it's the same one because he's got a big scar on his shell from where it's been cracked and then healed again. So the tortoises, the reptiles are going to be coming out, they're going to be mating, and then the insect life, of course, always explodes whenever we have a drizzle of this sort. And I mean, as we look across at this view, it's such a nice, gentle rain. It's not pouring down, it's just enough to shut us and get us stuck in the tent, but it is perfect to soak into the soil. It is very nice. Chandra, you don't have any comms, they're coming back to us.
Chandra, have you broken the new radios we got yesterday already?
No.
Alright, Brent is you're going to get his hand in the screen every now and again as he attempts to sort Chandra out and fix his comms issues, because it's quite important for the cameraman to be able to hear what Final Control is saying to us. Otherwise we have disasters. Maybe I should try and... No, actually I'm not going to take the camera, that will be a disaster.
I'll take the camera.
You want to take the camera? Well,
I'm joking.
should we see if we can
you got comms yet?
poor Chandra's comms? Okay. Let's just go back, Kirst, if we can. Let's go back to dam camera for the moment, and we'll sort Chandra out for a second. Okay, so there we go. And it's all happening at the Djuma Dam. There's some murky water and a log in it, and that water's looking a little bit green. Of course, we're not pumping at the moment. We're not pumping the Voyatella Dam, just because it has rained, so there is water. And bear in mind, whilst it's very nice to provide the animals with as much water as possible, that water has to come from somewhere, and that's usually from deep beneath the surface of the soil. I can hear you muttering away, apparently. James Richard has found a task for Jerry to have a scout about and behind the tent. James Richard wants to see let's see, it's going to be a competition between Jerry and the Zumi to go and find the first giant land snail. Jerry's looking at me. She could not
off you go, Jerry.
She could not be angry. I'm only joking, Jerry.
I'm not.
I'm only joking, Jerry. I'm not going to send you out into the rain. We do have comms back once again, so we are able to return. There we go. So, Jerry, Arcadia would like to know why you were sitting in the wet sand.
She's a strange person.
I'm not sure. She was waiting to sprout. I see. With a little bit of water, she planted her feet in a sort of yoga-style position and was waiting to sprout, was Jerry's answer. Shame. The chairs are all occupied. We've taken 2 of them, and the pens have found their pride of place on the 3rd. So poor Jerry's... Shame, Jerry, I was only joking. You don't have to find a land snail.